Man perishes in East Kanji fire. Bandits beat rob Blackbush Polar family. Government looking into Ambassador Ali's U.S. conviction. Evicted rob street vendors mull legal action. And medical school administrator holds students hostage. Good evening, I'm Edward Lane with tonight's edition of the Evening News. A 95-year-old woman was rescued from a burning building at East Kanji Berbice on Tuesday evening, but her 64-year-old son perished. More from Andrew Carmichael.
The charred remains of Parsham Samaru, also called Isaac, were removed from the Lot 19 Adelphi East Kanji premises shortly after midnight. The remains were found on a bed to which he was confined due to his illness. His mother, Sharian Mangru, was saved by her grandson, who rushed to her assistance after hearing the screams. According to reports, the fire started in a lower flat of the small wooden structure about 22 hours on Tuesday evening. The elderly woman explained what took place on the fateful night.
My son asleep at bottom. He now walk. Yeah, mess there. So I just put him at bottom, I give a room. And I just put him in the room and I sleep upstairs. When I do see fire catch, I almost catch my stomach, the heat. And I jump up and I do so. And me find the door. And I open the door and that one grandson hold me and hide me back there. After the meaning not me.
It was her 25-year-old grandson, Raymond, who managed to save her life.
Fire woke me up. When I wake up, I walk through the door, crack the crease. I see the whole downstairs flaming. But I open, run over. She get on the landing, hold on. I run go. She run downstairs and she run go back. But then me come back, like from where the house there, like behind the foul pen I go with she, right? And I come back from there, so I come in, help the next one assistance. The whole house was in fire. We couldn't do nothing.
However, firefighters were summoned and were able to save a nearby building, but by the time they arrived, the fire had already engulfed the home belonging to the elderly woman.
Well, just how he lay down on the bed, like when he can't help and vices really don't come out plenty, and like when he might call and the fire catch, he like how he crook her up or he hide the face, the hand and so like just on the head born away and just the chest part left, which he got a show and the 2 foot. Well, by the spraying the water, with the pressure they use how them put this, because remember this is giant, right? But them pick up back everything and put it in the box and carry it.
An investigation to determine the cause of the fire is underway. Meanwhile, dead man's brother estimated the losses to be in the thousands.
She had a fridge, she had a television, and she had a bed with 2 mattresses, and she had one dressing case full of clothes and everything. And more thing inside. And she had some money too.
As crime continues to spiral out of control, a Blackbush Polar fisherman and his wife were on Tuesday evening attacked, beaten and robbed by several armed men. The bandits carted off with an undisclosed sum of money and a quantity of jewelry. According to information received, 37-year-old Bibi Kunbuks woke up at about 21 hours to use the washroom and was confronted by a man armed with a cutlass. She reportedly raised an alarm, but as her husband, Amar Budu, ran to her rescue, he was attacked by 2 other men who were already in the house. He was reportedly chopped to the chest and dealt several lashes to the body by one of the men who demanded cash and jewelry. Out of fear, the couple handed over a bag containing cash and all the jewelry they had at home to the bandits, who made good their escape. The police were summoned, and due to their quick response, 2 of the men were apprehended and are assisting with investigations. The daughter of Siram Singh, a fuel dealer who was killed last April, was on Tuesday evening robbed when bandits invaded her Parika Outfall, East Bank Essequibo home. Casey Coleman reports.
The incident occurred at around 1850 hours while 27-year-old Bonita Laliram was at home alone. The Evening News understands that the woman was on her bed when she was startled by a hand on her neck, but before she could react, a tissue was placed over her nose and she passed out. The bandits then ransacked the entire house, carting off with an undisclosed sum of money and a quantity of jewelry. The woman was later found in an unconscious state with tissue stuffed in her mouth by her 9-year-old son. Her husband applied Limacol to her face and she regained consciousness. Speaking to this newscast, her husband related that his wife did not hear any unusual sounds before she was attacked, as well as the neighbors. He added that the men who were allegedly responsible for her father's death was charged, but despite this, the family constantly received death threats. His father-in-law was attacked by armed bandits and shot 3 times to his body and head. He succumbed while en route to the Lenora Hospital, West Coast Demerara, to receive treatment. He was killed a short distance away from his home during an apparent robbery. Nevertheless, the fearful family is calling on the authorities to thoroughly investigate the matter. Reporting for the Evening News, Kizzy Coleman.
Several vendors who were prevented from selling along Robb Street between Alexander and Border Streets are now mulling legal actions against the mayor and city council over hundreds of thousands of dollars of perishables which spoiled as a result of the action. More in this report.
Several of the vendors met with opposition leader Bharat Jagdeo and a delegation on Wednesday to seek his intervention to have them return to the area they have been plying their trade for more than decades. The vendors said that after they protested the mayor and city council and the Ministry of Communities on Wednesday morning, Town Clerk Royston King indicated that they will be able to return to the area on Thursday.
I'm going to talk with the other vendors there that carry losses, and we're going to take legal action against them.
Meanwhile, the vendors said that many of them owe large sums of money to suppliers, and not being able to ply their trade is putting additional pressure on their already limited financial resources.
I hope people hold bank. I hope people for load and so. Some of those just got credit out, taking money piece, so you get to pay them.
We still have to pay the farmers the load. They doesn't business if it's spoiled or not. We still have to pay for the losses that we have. So we gladly like if we could start vending today, so whatever little we have leave, we could afford to sell it to make something to pay them.
Why Mr. Royston King is doing this to vendors? We need to sell, and we need to sell today. Mr. Royston King we need to sell today, because what is it we're going to do with the perishable is perishable goods we sell.
On Tuesday, King instructed City Constabulary to cordon off the area and to not allow the vendors to sell there without even giving notice to the merchants. According to the vendors, some of whom travel from as far as Berbice, several truckloads of goods have spoiled over the past 2 days since they were being prevented from plying their trade. Former Junior Finance Minister Juan Edgell, who was part of the opposition leader's delegation, reaffirmed the vendors of Jagdeo's support. Former Prime Minister Samuel Hines and PPPC Georgetown Councillor Bishram Coppen were also present at the meeting. Reporting for the Evening News, Kizzy Coleman.
Meanwhile, following a meeting with the vendors and Town Clerk Royston King, a decision was taken to allow the vendors to return to their vending spots as of tomorrow. However, King stated that if the vendors do not maintain the sanitation of the area and continue to cause traffic obstructions, a permanent ban will be placed against vending at the location. As of today, members of the Guyana Fire Service and sanitation workers from City Hall were at work cleaning the vending area. King further stated his reason for the initial removal of the vendors on Tuesday was because of the deplorable conditions of the area, highlighting that many merchants opted to dispose of their garbage near Mike's Pharmacy, raising many complaints. Coming up after the break, a government looking into Ambassador Ali's U.S. conviction and President weighs in on NCN's controversy. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the Evening News. We now tell you that recently appointed ambassador to Kuwait, Dr. Shamir Ali, has been written to by the Guyana government to explain his 2003 conviction for financial crimes in the United States of America. Details in this report.
Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenwich told reporters on Wednesday that government is looking into the conviction against Ambassador Ali over a decade ago and will make appropriate recommendations to Cabinet.
We are investigating, trying to establish the veracity and in determining the seriousness of the conviction. We are looking at it, and we will then make a recommendation to the Cabinet as regards the necessity for further action.
However, the Foreign Affairs Minister pointed out that due diligence was exercised in appointing the diplomat. Nevertheless, Minister Greenwich explained that there is a process to follow in obtaining the information needed from the United States.
Sometimes, because the United States is a partly big place, and it operates not necessarily as a unitary constitution, you something may happen in one part and you can't approach the US and get an answer. You have to approach the right courts, the right states, or what have you. But when you're looking at it,
in 2003, Dr. Ali was investigated and found guilty of dissemination of false financial information through his US registered company, Acrodyne Communications Incorporated, according to the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. However, he managed to cut a plea bargain agreement with the United States government for a lesser sentence and also pay a fine. Dr. Ali was initially appointed Guyana's ambassador to Switzerland under the current APNU-AFC administration, but was later seconded to Kuwait instead. Reporting for the Evening News, Fanu Manikchand.
A private medical school administrator yesterday held 2 students hostage in a locked building after the police turned up to arrest her for allegedly ripping off hundreds of students. Bisham Mohammed reports.
2 medical students were yesterday held hostage in a locked building by an offshore medical school administrator as chaos erupted outside the compound, with scores of students demanding refunds. K. Singh, who also goes by several other assumed names, was arrested by police after holding the 2 students in the upper flat of the building, which houses the North Shore Medical School on Lamaha and Camp Streets, for more than 4 hours. Singh had openly refused to unlock the doors for a team of police who attempted several times to enter the building. However, the police gained entry into the building through an open window. According to sources, she stated that she will not let the students out until the media and police leave. Meanwhile, the other students stood outside the building waiting on her to come out so that they can have their monies back. The angry students stated that the woman had taken thousands of dollars from them and was not providing them with any examination results or any proof that the school is accredited. Several parents also stood outside waiting, stating that they recently became aware that the school was bogus when a story appeared in a newspaper.
3 days ago, then we get to know about what is going on. So I decided to come after my son and 3 other more students went and make a report at Albert Police Station and Brick Dam. He called me and said that, the ladies are fraud. So I am concerned after the police told them that they're going to come down today to do arrest because she was in some scam before, and that's why I came.
One of the students who was locked in the building after the standoff ended stated that a year ago he heard about the schools through a television advertisement.
We basically heard that reporters are coming and that the police are investigating her, and we were upstairs.
She told you couldn't leave the place?
Yes.
The other hostage, a young woman, was too upset to say anything. In 2014, a batch of medical students protested against Singh, who was running the American Healthcare Institute, and demanded a refund of their money when they found out that she was heading a fraudulent institution. The woman, who went by the name of Geeta Kissoon, at that time was arrested in 2009 after former Health Minister Dr. Leslie Ramsamy accused her of operating a bogus educational institution. Public Health Minister Dr. George Norton is urging students to be aware of offshore medical schools and consult with the ministry before registering with them. Hisham Mohammed, Evening News.
As public outrage continues to mount over the removal of journalist Natasha Smith from the anchor chair at the National Communications Network over her pregnancy, President David Granger says that pregnancy is natural and should be celebrated. More from Vanu Manikchand.
In an invited comment on the issue, the head of state told media operatives on Wednesday that pregnancy is a natural course for women. According to President Granger, pregnancy should be celebrated.
So we should start to accept pregnancy as something very normal and don't regard it as some strange or unusual occurrence. So I don't mind seeing a pregnant air stewardess or a waitress in the restaurant. Pregnancy is normal, so let's celebrate it and let's be grateful we have pregnant women. That's my position. And I don't mind if she's on the screen or on the radio. Why not?
In a statement, Smith said she was informed by a senior manager of the state-owned entity that she would be relieved of her duties as anchor. The broadcast journalist highlighted it was shortly after this that she was made aware that the reason behind the decision was because she was unmarried and pregnant. NCN has since denied claims that Smith was pulled from the set due to her pregnancy, but gave no other reason. Of recent, the state-run company has come in for much criticism after it was brought to light that sports editor Giselle Archibald Hawk was suspended for 1 month without pay after she took to Facebook to criticize another NCN employee for asking President Granger about Pokemon Go, a trending game. However, NCN's management maintained that its decision on the single mother of 2 was justified. In light of these incidents, members of the local media fraternity, union representatives, and rights activists staged a protest on Tuesday in front of the company's Homestretch Avenue head office, calling on management to reverse its decision in both Smith's and Archibald Hawk's cases. Calls were also made for NCN's Chief Executive Officer, Lennox Cornett, to be sent packing. Reporting for the Evening News, Vanu Manik-chan.
Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenidge is assuring that the seizure of concessions from Chinese logging company Baishanlin will in no way weaken the diplomatic relations shared between Guyana and China. Davina Samaru tells us more in this report.
Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenidge told media operatives today that the diplomatic relations will remain strong since both countries understand the paramountcy of the law.
Let me just make it clear. China has rules and regulations which are supposed to govern its companies that operate in China and abroad. And Guyana has rules and regulations that also govern those companies. So companies operating in Guyana, whether they be Chinese or German, have to live by the laws that they agreed to embrace when they entered into this regime.
Furthermore, Greenidge contended that the Guyana government did nothing to render Baishanlin financially unstable.
If a company has encountered financial difficulties, the company, there are processes via which the company has to treat with those in order to either change their status or to be accepted as in order to establish the financial viability.
The Guyana Forestry Commission announced yesterday that it repossessed concessions currently being held by Baishanlin since it has continued to fail to produce to the Commission its proposed investors or a clear plan on how it intends to pay off an $80 million debt owed to the state. Baishanlin began its operations in Guyana in 2007. Reporting for the Evening News, Davina Samaru.
Thanks, Davina. Still to come, private sector up in arms over Sarah Bill and Brazilian national wanted for Kanawaruk murder. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. Government was given 7 days to terminate the controversial drug bond contract or face a hefty lawsuit. More from Davina Samaru.
A letter in the name of a private citizen was dispatched to the Public Health Ministry's Permanent Secretary on Tuesday, threatening legal action against the government if it failed to rescind the tenancy agreement with Linden Holdings, Inc. The Sussex Street Company came under the spotlight following the revelation by Public Health Minister Dr. George Norton that government was renting a storage bond for $12.5 million monthly to store medical supplies. Majid Hussain of Diamond and the East Bank of Demerara was guided by attorney-at-law Anil Nandlal in writing the correspondence. He posited that the monthly rental agreed upon was unreasonable, irrational, excessive, arbitrary, capricious, constitutes a fraud upon public funds, is unlawful, null and void, and of no effect. He also argued that the premises was absolutely unfit and unsuitable for the purpose of storing drugs and pharmaceuticals. He added that the procurement of the premises was done in absolute disregard and in violation of the Procurement Act. Against this backdrop, the taxpayer called on the government to immediately terminate the contract, and failure to do so could result in litigation. Reporting for the Evening News, Davina Samaru.
Thanks, Davina. In this report, we will tell you that President David Granger earlier this morning accredited Jose de la Rosa Burgos as the non-resident ambassador of the Philippines to Guyana.
Ambassador Burgos handed over his letters of credence to the Guyanese head of state at the Ministry of Presidency. In brief remarks after receiving the documents, President Granger noted that Guyana looks forward to deepening working cooperation and strengthening bilaterals with the Philippines. He noted that despite a short period of diplomatic relations between Guyana and the Republic of the Philippines, citizens of the two countries have been benefiting from each other for almost a quarter of a century.
Guyana has benefited from the services of professionals from the Philippines who came here to work in a wide range of fields, including education, forestry, and medicine. Many Filipinos still live and work in Guyana. We are grateful for the expertise and service of these professionals.
Meanwhile, Ambassador Burgos thanked the Guyana government for making its country a home away from home for those Filipinos living and working here.
For Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, the agency has to look after our overseas Filipino workers, named Guyana in 2011 as one of the 3 safe havens in the Caribbean for Filipino workers who have adequate labor and social laws that protect the rights of migrants. We also thank the government of Guyana for its continued mutual support for Filipino candidatures in the United Nations.
Guyana and the Philippines established formal diplomatic relations on September 25, 2008. Reporting for the Evening News, Fanu Manakchan.
The Private Sector Commission has labelled the draft SARA bill as deeply flawed, noting that it provides for harassment and political victimization. Davina Samaru reports.
The Private Sector Commission issued a stern warning about the dangers of the State Asset Recovery Agency bill and has called for an immediate review of the draft legislation. The local private sector body agreed that all assets or resources belonging to the state that was unlawfully removed must be recovered and returned. However, it noted that this must be done within the confines of the Guyana Constitution. The body also said that the SARA bill is not a good signal to investors since it provides opportunities for them to be harassed and victimized. The Private Sector Commission was also concerned that the powers provided to the director of SARA will blur the lines of separation of functions of the executive and the judiciary. The position of the private sector body echoes that of many other civil society bodies. The bill is slated to be presented in the National Assembly for debate and possibly enactment when the House comes out of recess next month. Reporting for the Evening News, Davina Samaru.
Thank you very much, Davina. We now look at what is happening inside the courts with Kizzy Coleman.
Sherilyn Mona, 44 of 158 Non-Parallel Street, Alboistang, was today remanded to prison by the Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan, charged with the capital offence of murder. He was not required to plead to the indictable offence, which alleged that on September 2, 2016, at White Creek, Bagnam, Essequibo, he murdered Ryan English, called Arthur. His attorney Sonia Parag made an unsuccessful bail application, stating that the defendant has no previous antecedents and is also the sole provider for his 6 children. McLennan remanded the man to prison, and he will return to the Matthew Ridge Magistrates Court on October 31, 2016. Additionally, Marlon King, 50 of 36 Northern Street, Wortmanville, was also remanded to prison charged with possession. He pleaded not guilty to both charges when they were read to him by the Chief Magistrate. It is alleged that on September 3, 2016, at Norton Street, Georgetown, he had in his possession 1.32 pistol and 9 matching rounds of ammunition without being the holder of a firearm or ammunition license. He will next appear before Magistrate Fabio Azor in Court 5 of the Magistrates Court on September 28, 2016. And finally, in the courts, Francis Roberts, 72 of Norton Street, was also remanded to prison when he appeared before McLennan charged with possession. He pleaded not guilty to the offense, which alleged that on September 3rd, also at Norton Street, he was found with one 12-gauge shotgun cartridge without being the holder of a firearm license. He will return to court on September 27, 2016. That is a wrap for this edition of Evening News Inside the Courts. I am Kizzy Coleman.
The Ghana Police Force on Wednesday issued a wanted bulletin for Antonio do Nascimento da Silva, also called Montagros, for questioning in connection to the murder of Ana Maria Souza da Silva. The woman was allegedly stabbed to death on February 21, 2016 at Murawa Bakdam, Kanawaruk, Petaro River. The last known address of the wanted Brazilian was given as Murawa Bakdam, Kanawaruk, Petaro River, and Boa Vista, Brazil. Anyone with information that may lead to the arrest of Antonio do Nascimento da Silva is asked to contact the nearest police station or call 911. Join us after the break for your regional and international news. Stay with us.